Quiz Your Biz, here we go with Rachel, Dan, and Reese as your host. Tips to help you improve through great interviews.
Hello and welcome to a special edition of Quiz Your Biz. This one was recorded on the 3rd of September with Rob Moore. Now, I'm a little bit starstruck at the beginning of this interview, so it's a little bit stuttery with me at the start, but thankfully Rob allowed me to kind of get into my flow, and it does flow a little bit better towards the end. I'm very grateful for. Here is the audio. Rob Moore, author and property, I guess, if you could introduce yourself maybe, please, Rob.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I'm an author. I've written 14 books. I'm in the middle of my 15th. I suppose I'd probably just call myself an entrepreneur. I've got property businesses and various bits and bobs. I have about 720 properties. I'm trying to work it out at the moment, hence why I'm out of breath.
Yeah, apologies. That was a real terrible introduction by me, Rob. So, right. No, I've really caught me. Oh God. Rob, I really enjoyed your book Money, and I've already pre-ordered your new one, which I think was Start Now, Get Perfect Later. Is that the one?
Yeah, it's out mid-September on paperback. It's out now on Audible. You can get it on audio.
Couple of weeks, yeah, and I know that is the Audible read by yourself, or is that by?
Yeah, like when I wrote Life Leverage, I outsourced the audio, the reading of it, obviously, because the book's about leverage, so that would have been anti-concept to read myself.
Sure.
And reading yourself is quite a lot of time. It took me 5 full days doing money, which, let's say you earn $1,000 a day, $5,000 a day, whatever you earn. It's a lot of cost to read your own book because it takes such a long time, but my community wouldn't have it. They just wouldn't have anyone else reading my book, so I've been under the pressure, and I read them all myself now.
Oh, great. I mean, I really did much prefer myself the Money podcast just because it was read by yourself, and it felt a lot more real than being read by somebody else. So I think that made a massive difference on the book. Do you think that the content's completely new in the newer book, or is it there's a lot of overlap with the previous ones?
I think there's probably always a 10%, 15% overlap. I'm okay with that because there's fundamentals which are important in everything you do, like your values, what's most important to you in your life, your values around money or your values around business or your personal life. So the values are certainly a current theme within my book. But Start Now, Get Perfect Later is about overcoming procrastination, fears, doubts, worries to go out and get stuff done. Money is about money. I'm Worth More, my new book, is about increasing your self-worth. Property Investing Secrets is about property. Routine Equals Results is about building like a powerful, efficient routine. So they're all very different.
Sure.
But I'm not scared about doing 10 or 15% worth of repetition. But what I'll normally do is if I'm talking about values in the money book, I'll link it to money. If I'm talking about values in a book about getting more done, I'll link it to your procrastination just to make it, more conceptually relevant to the book.
Absolutely, and I can completely understand how, even if somebody already knew things, to have that refresher is always a good thing anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, the fundamentals of life, we should be reminded every week, how to get on with people, how to manage your money. They're the fundamentals of life, and I get that we all want to learn new stuff, but every week we're going to have successes and failures in the fundamentals of life. We're going to get on with people really well, or we're going to have an argument with someone, get sucked into something that we shouldn't. So I'm not scared of repeating those fundamentals. But like I said, 10 or 15% repetition, the rest is new.
And do you think the fundamentals you learnt so far can be transferred to pretty much any business out there?
Well, I think the fundamentals are across all areas of your life.
Sure.
So I don't think you can avoid them. Is being good with people transferable from property to starting a business, to hiring staff, to parenting, to marriage? Of course it is. You get on well with an estate agent, you'll get deals. You get on well with your husband or wife, you're going to have a happy marriage. You learn how to raise your kids. It's, I don't talk a lot about things like patience, emotional and self-awareness in property books, but that is actually important. I mean, if you don't get on with an estate agent, you've got no deals, no matter how much you know about property. And it's always a self journey, isn't it? Because I think yourself, myself, and many listeners, we read a lot of personal development books and we educate ourselves, but we can all have a bad day. We can all lose our rag and the plot a bit. And so minimizing your emotional lash outs and just sort of mastering those inner emotions. I used to be quite reactive emotionally, and now if I'm feeling quite perturbed or angered or frustrated, I'll just try and wait. I'll just try and get myself away from people, make sure I'm not on social media or on email lashing out at people, and just try and wait and breathe it in. Because I know a few hours, we've all sent an email, haven't we? And then a few hours later, we've totally regretted it. So all of those stuff are fundamentals of life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And life ain't easy, man.
Do you still find you have? So I think one of the things that I read, I think it might have even been like a slogan for National Lottery or something. But it was kind of better problems to have. Just because your problems are always going to be there, but they're going to be different types of problems as you become more successful and you take more on. Do you find that you have more or less or the same amount of problems now as kind of before you started and when you were still kind of in the art world?
I think that's a really good thing to discuss, because I think we all perceive that as we get better, things get easier. As we get bigger, more reach, more money, more popularity, things will get easier. But the problems just morph into different forms. Very successful people say your problems don't go away, you just get bigger ones or you get higher quality ones. And I've certainly found that to be the case. My problems have just changed over time. They've changed in form. When your skin, your problems are around self-worth, around money and affording things and all that emotional baggage around not feeling like you provide and you're successful. Then when you've got money, you start having feelings of guilt that you've got a lot, or you have to protect it from people who want it all of the time, or people judge you because you're wealthy. Drive a shitty car, people judge you. Drive a flash car, people judge you. You've got a lot of staff, you hire a lot of people, it's good for the economy, but you're responsible for a lot of people. You have no staff, you're not responsible for everyone. You can make more of your own decisions, but you can't scale and leverage as much. So I think the balanced view of reality is wisdom, and that is that things don't get easier, you get better. Now, some of my problems have gone away, not because they've gone away, but because I've got better at managing them. So a problem will persist at you as feedback for you to grow in that area. And then if you hide from it or you're delusional about it, it won't go away. It will just keep manifesting in different forms in your life, because that's the lesson you need to grow into a more survivable human being in our species. Because obviously the stronger we are as an individual and a species, the more likely we are to survive and evolve. So I used to hide from all of my problems, thinking, hoping, wishing and praying that they'd go away. And of course they just get worse. We all know when we put that thing off, it doesn't go away. It bites us harder. So tackling your problems and learning to master them, whether it's a fear of what other people think about you or a fear of making mistakes or letting people down or whatever, as you learn to strengthen yourself and get better knowledge and skills, then your problems do go away. But other ones come to test you at a bigger level. Sure. So once you've solved the problem and you think, oh man, I can relax now, life is good, that all you've done is move that one out of the way to invite a bigger one in.
Okay, and do you think, I know that because your businesses are so diverse, and you've got, I say, property, you're an author, you've got your podcast thing, you did the crypto stuff as well. Do you find, are you taking on bigger and different problems to kind of keep you on the edge, or is that just things that have evolved through relationships you've had?
I think it's both. I think on the one hand, I want a bigger challenge all the time. It seems to be in me. So, I never rest, and that's the downside of me. Sometimes it's never enough, and that can be an entrepreneur's curse. So in that regard, I'm always striving for more. And with bigger opportunities, you have to accept bigger problems. You can't have all upside and no downside. But at the same time, that journey has just grown as I've grown, and it's also happened organically, because the longer you've been doing something, the more opportunities that come to you, the more trust you have in the marketplace, the better you are known, the more incoming business you get rather than outbound that you have to push for. So it's probably a combination of both, but I tend to disrupt myself. So once I've got comfortable and think, this is where I want to be, I'm happy for about 45 minutes.
Sure.
And then I have to go and, mess it all up and go and start something new and launch something and write a new book and buy bigger buildings and stuff, just because that seems to be my nature. And it's both a blessing and a curse. And I'm trying to balance that and wrestle with both sides of that.
And I guess kind of balancing on the other side as well, having family and friends and a social side as well.
I don't have any friends really, mate. So
No.
that's not a problem. And I'm not really being flippant there. It's just
Okay.
I would like to be a bit more social. I mean, I'm very well known online.
Yeah.
But actually, face to face, most of my social is linked to property and business. Most of what you might call my friends are either clients or peers in the business world. But I spend a lot of time with my son playing golf, a lot of time with my family. I work from home a lot.
Sure.
So I think I've got good balance in that regard. I mean, to be honest, I could be doing more. I turned down a lot of overseas speaking gigs. I turned down a lot of TV opportunity, turned down The Secret Millionaire, turned down How the Other Half Live. Sometimes I think, man, I've got myself in a position where, I've made tens of millions of pounds and then I look at people who made hundreds of millions or billions and I think I should be doing more.
Yeah.
And then if I was really busy, I'd be thinking, oh man, I should be following my own advice on life leverage and doing less. So, it's just that, and I think the theme of this conversation is just balancing in your mind these opposing forces, because everyone has them. No one has all good and no bad. No one has all bad and no good. And just balancing those opposing forces, that pull between setting up your own business and spending time with your family, between making a lot of money and the cost in other areas of your life, between putting yourself out there and marketing yourself and then, of course, attracting critics and trolls. It's just a constant dance for everybody.
Yeah. Is there any kind of techniques or strategies you put in place to handle that, or do you just juggle as you go along?
Well, I mean, that was one of the reasons why I wrote Start Now, Get Perfect Later, because it's like, I think one of the most true sayings that there is that most of us know what to do, but we're not doing it.
Yeah.
So, if anyone's read up on a bit of personal development and sort of entrepreneurship, they know 80% of the fundamentals that they need to know. And then when they read books, like I said, they know 80% of it. So a lot of it is not about learning new things. It's about doing what you know.
Yeah.
So, that's the biggest challenge, I suppose. I mean, I always say, think big but start small. I always say, protect the failure risk of it all going wrong and then start from there. I always say, test rather than go all in, because like anything, like a public speech or trying to win a big client, something that's hard or you fear. If you think, well, this is everything, I've just got, if I fail this, I've failed, You're putting a lot of pressure on yourself because you're making it really big. In reality, just see everything as a test. If it doesn't work so well, fine. I'll give you a little example. I launched Start Now, Get Perfect Later, and for the first 256 buyers, I started a new WhatsApp group, and I called it an accountability group.
Yes, I saw that.
It's what it's called. And a lot of people are going in there and banter and chat and trying to pull business out and everything else. And, a handful of people have left the group. And now I could think, oh my goodness, those 5 people, they feel let down by me because they've left the group. Why have they left the group? So I just told the group, this is a test. Let's see how it goes. And each time the group isn't used for what it's supposed to be used for, I just gently say, hey, look, we're all in a million WhatsApp groups. So keep that and that outside. This group is for this and this. And over time, I can improve that group and make it and control it. But you've got your best customers who buy your book, and then you see they're in a accountability group with your name on it, and then they leave.
Yeah.
You're like, what have I done wrong? I just try not to take yourself too seriously either. I think sometimes we're really worried about the external perception of who we are. You know what? People will love me who love me. People will hate me who hate me. People will be apathetic who are apathetic. I can win over some people, and I'll never win over others. And if I'm myself, then that's good enough.
Yeah, and do you? I mean, and I know for most people, I guess myself included, we're kind of our own worst critics. Have you kind of come to terms with being your own critic now, or is that, or others worst critics for you? Do you find?
I think that's again the dance between polarized extremes. If you are self-critical, that can be really beneficial because that can be self-awareness. You can humbleize yourself so that you don't get too far ahead of yourself or cocky or flippant. You can progressively learn, because look at the other side of that. If you just think you're amazing at everything and you love yourself for everything that you do, well, the downside of that is you could be lazy, you could be, come across a little bit standoffish or with hubris. You're closed-minded, not open-minded. So a balance of self-critique because that's different. Self-critique is, I made a mistake there. That wasn't good. How can I improve it? Self-criticism is, I'm a failure. I messed up. I shouldn't do that again. So self-critique versus self-criticism is just a couple of letters in the English language, but it makes a huge difference. So people who beat themselves up a lot, which I do, try and be self-critical rather than criticism of yourself. And I think that helps. But then you've got to do the opposite. And the opposite is when you do something good, you've got to pat yourself on the back. And we rarely do that. You know, like every day we beat ourselves up about the things that go wrong. But when do we actually stop and go, you know what? I did good there. I'm impressed with myself. Well done. And so we need to have that balanced dialogue within ourselves.
Yeah. And do you think you've personally got that balance most days? I mean, like I said, every day is a little bit different, right?
Yeah, every day's a little bit different. I think, the thing with this ideological balance is it's rarely an ideological balance. You know, when you look at a seesaw, it's normally one end up. So people think that, and I don't, can you still hear me? Sorry.
Yeah.
Someone's calling me. I better go into
it.
So I think we have this ideological fantasy that the seesaw can be in constant balance. But the reality is we attempt to make it in constant balance. It can be in balance much of the time, but sometimes it's way in reverse and sometimes it's way in reverse.
Yeah.
Sometimes you are ecstatic because everything is going well. You don't want to put it back into balance by going, whoa, everything's going too well, just stop it. But at the same time, you have really bad days sometimes and you get blindsided. I think I've got better at managing that self-criticism versus self-critique. But I have good days and bad days like everybody else. I just think it's learning to improve how you talk to yourself, how you treat yourself. The world's going to do a good enough job beating yourself up. So, don't be that person who beats yourself up when the world's going to do it, when your critics are going to do it.
Enough of them out there, right?
I've got a dash now. I've finished my workout, but hope it's been useful to you.
No, I really appreciate it, Rob. Thank you so much for going through that. That's great.
All right, mate. Make sure you share the link with me when you're done.
100%. Will do. Thanks, Rob.
Cheers. Thanks,
Take care. Bye-bye.
Quiz your